Have you ever noticed how cruise ships do things a little differently to how they do them on land? In this video, I'm going to tell you 4 things that cruise ships do differently and why they do them. It's Danny here from Cruisy CDs, and if you're new to the channel, thanks for giving us a go, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to explain some of the strange things cruise ships do compared to places on land and why they do them. For these things, there are actually good reasons for it and not just an inconvenience. Let's get on to my first point, the size and location of the pools and hot tubs. The first thing you think when you board and know you're going to be out on the open sea is that there will be plenty of room in the pool to swim and lounge around. But as soon as you get onto the deck, you notice that the pool is a little small. And when I say small, I mean you're on a ship that holds thousands of people and the main pool can't fit more than a few dozen people if you're lucky. It seems a bit annoying, doesn't it? It's pretty obvious that most people want to enjoy the water, so why not give them at least a bigger pool? The answer is the weight and movement of the water. When cruise ships are built, they have to take a few extra things into consideration rather than just staying afloat. One of these is the weight of everything on board and the movement of things. And 2 of the biggest issues that can change is water and the people. People come in many shapes and sizes, so the designer on a cruise ship has to take a guess, but with water, the designers have a bit more control. Let's look at a pool that's 9 meters deep, 4.4 meters wide, and 1.5 meters deep. That's approximately 60,000 liters of water, or 60,000 kilograms, or about 66 tons. That's a lot of extra weight. Now multiply that by the amount of pools on board, the ship starts getting heavy. We then have the next part of the equation, the location of the pools themselves. You'll usually find them on a top open deck, but in the center. If they're not in the center, there will always be something to counter the weight in an opposite part of the ship, although that might not be obvious. The same goes for the hot tubs. Unlike the pools, they aren't usually in the center of the deck, but as you can see from this deck plan, there are 2 of them equally spread out. And now we have the third part, water moves. Too much weight from the water could cause the ship to move too much, which could be disastrous. So if you're wondering why the pools are a bit shallower than you would like, that's the reason. There's barely any cash on board. Once you step on board, that's pretty much it for holding any cash. For most cruise lines, you'll be given a card. This card is what you use to spend money on. Just hand it over to your waiter or whomever you're paying, and that's it. This card also acts as your room key. Some cruise lines have moved on to items such as a medallion, but it pretty much works the same way. There are 2 major reasons for this. The first, for the passenger, it's convenient for the passenger to just have money on a card rather than carry around a wallet. In fact, if you want, the only thing you need to carry is your card or whatever the cruise lines have. For the ships, it's easier and quicker to use the cards and take money from those accounts. Cruise ships have many bars, restaurants and shops all taking payment. All the person has to do is scan the card, then give it back. If the ship had money, they would have to work out the change, slowing down the process. A word of warning though, you're also likely to spend more money than you'd expect if you can't physically see how much you're spending. So keep an eye out on your account via the cruise ship's app or get your balance from guest services. There are a couple of exceptions of course, the first being the casino, which still allows cash and you can use your cruise card if you want to. The second is if you wish to tip in cash, that's also permitted. The internet is slow and not as stable as it is on land. When we're on land, the internet is fast. Most websites load up in a few seconds. We can stream shows as quickly as we could have changed a TV channel. On ships, it's very different. The ship's internet can take minutes to load a website, or you might not even be able to. This is because the ships are all using satellite internet. They don't have another choice. I'll try not to get too technical in this explanation. On land, when we open a website, the data goes from your home to where the information is, and back, really fast. On a ship, the information goes from the ship to the satellite. This takes time for the data. Then to the ground, where it gets what information you're after, then goes from the ground to the satellite to the ship. This alone slows the process down. But add that the ship's internet is slower to begin with, it can sometimes make the process painful. When we add things like cloud cover, which affects the signal, overall the ship's internet can be painfully slow and unreliable. This is actually one of those things that's getting improved, with some ships now getting things like Starlink, which speeds up the process. The internet on ships might not be too bad in the future. Before we go on to our last thing, if you haven't already, why not subscribe? If there are other things you don't understand why cruise ships do them, leave a comment and I'll see if I can answer it. Doing the muster drill. This is one of those things that almost everyone doesn't like, but it's a huge necessity more than anything else on the list. The muster drill is done because of safety and also because it's maritime law. Cruise ships began doing muster drills after the Titanic tragedy. Even if you've done it before, they still require you to do it, mostly just so you know where your muster station is, and a refresher is always good. What if you decide to miss the muster or simply forget? Think again. There is a reason why your name is marked off, and that's to make sure you've done it. If your name hasn't been signed off, they will call you and force you to do it. If you refuse, you will most likely be disembarked. The ship won't leave until every passenger's name has been signed off. Now that most cruise lines has changed to a new system where you don't have to be stuck in either a cramped room or on deck in the boiling sun, here's the trick. If you're like me and like to tour the ship a little on the first day, you'll end up at your muster station anyway. Get your name marked off. If you're interested in how a cruise muster works, have a look at this video. And thanks for watching.